I think you're right on there with people just posting pictures and say, come in and try our new special. It's not going to cut it. You know, you need to engage the customer. And that's something I learned from your guys, you and Scott, is when you make a post on Facebook or something, have something that they can engage with. Guess how many candies in the bottle. You know, what's your pet's name? You know, something that they can engage with. It doesn't have to be always about a slab of ribs or a slice of pizza or something like that.
2017, I had a vision for America's Best Restaurants. I said, hey, I want to create a media platform that helps tell the stories of the hardest working people in this country, the mom and pop restaurants. And I didn't know what the hell I was talking about, how I was going to do it. I'm like, I'm going to travel the country with my phone and film these stories.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Duce Raymond Podcast. Today we have with us a special guest, Matt Plapp. And Matt and I have had a great friendship and actually done some business together over the last few years. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm amazing. I'm in sunny Las Vegas. I got the palm trees behind me. Life is good.
Awesome, awesome. Well, as we get started, I'd like everybody just to have a little bit of context. Who is Matt Plapp, and how did you go from the radio business into restaurant marketing? That seems like a large leap.
So I always blame my love affair for the restaurant business from my mom and dad raising me in restaurants. My dad had an insurance agency. My mom and dad both had an insurance agency. And I used to always joke that my mom couldn't cook because we ate out every night. But it wasn't that she couldn't cook. She was phenomenal. And Mom, if you watch or hear this, you're a phenomenal cook. But they loved giving business to their restaurant clients, networking. And so we were in the restaurants a lot. And then when I got into my radio career in 1999, I noticed that none of the small mom and pop restaurants were on the radio. And it wasn't because there wasn't a benefit to them. Now I know, being an older marketer, there wasn't as much as I probably thought then. But it's because the sales reps couldn't make a commission on them. They're car dealer spending $20,000 a month. A restaurant could spend $500. Well, I looked at it differently. I looked at it from a trade avenue. I thought, if I can get 20 restaurants on the books spending $500, yes, not a huge amount, but it's equivalent to one good big account. But now I have gift cards to go entertain my clients with. And so I became the restaurant trade radio guy in Cincinnati. And then simultaneously, my brother, my dad, and myself got together in September of 99, and I don't know where it came from. My dad wanted to start a boat and RV consignment store, and we didn't have any money. Me and my brother didn't, and my dad wasn't going to invest his money in something with his two kids. It could be morons for all he knew. And we got the idea that we would build it online, and this is in September of 99, and knowing where I was technically back then, I had struggled with email. And so the fact that I went out and bought a book and created a website is beyond me, but we grew that to $15 million in sales, 3 locations within 5 years, almost all off the internet. That exposed me to the digital world. And in 2008, I decided to start what is today our restaurant media company, America's Best Restaurants, Repeat Returns. Back in 2008 is a local marketing company, and my first client was a restaurant, oddly enough.
That's awesome. You know, you brought up your dad, and when you were out here filming for us, you brought your dad with you, and I thought that was so cool. What position does your dad have in the company, and what's your relationship like? You know, and before you answer, I just wanted to let you know that really warmed my heart in a special way because your dad reminded me so much of my dad. And then to see Uncle Dave and your dad sitting down and talking, it was a really, really cool experience. That was probably the best part of the whole experience. No offense. It was just awesome to see them interacting. And I shit you not, your dad looked like my dad and his like expressions were like my dad. So it was a special experience for me.
Well, my dad's from the Chicago area too.
You could tell.
And the way he talks about it, his childhood, you would have thought he was in like a biker gang or something in downtown Chicago, but I'm sure he wasn't. But no, my dad and I have grown up as almost, I would say, best friends. We talk many times a day. He is the head of sales training for my company, so he's retired technically, but he works every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday out of our office. He travels with me occasionally. He was in Vegas with me 3 weeks ago. We came out for Pizza Expo.
Nice.
And so he came out with us. He loves restaurants, loved your all spot. And I grew up in a unique situation. My mom and dad always had me and my brother around. Well, my brother, when I was in 8th grade, went off to the Navy. And so a lot of kids that hung out with, their friends all the time. My dad I'd go to bars with my dad Like we'd go to a bar, we'd go to steakhouses. I remember going Christmas shopping with my dad and carrying mom's lingerie, as awkward as that was as an 8th grader. Like I don't know what the hell it was, but now I look back, I'm like, Dad, you had some problems. But we grew up around each other a lot. And some people, we've calmed down now, but 20 years ago when we were in the boat business together, you've seen the show American Chopper, the father and son there, they're always at each other. Like my dad and I, for a little bit, not knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses and not having the respect for each other's abilities, we were like that. We were like, murder each other every day.
Gosh.
But we've always been good friends. There's a funny story I tell about my dad, and this happened. It's not exaggerated. We were in his office arguing over something, nominal. I'm sure it was probably like us arguing over the color of a shirt. And he wouldn't listen. And I was probably, if I think back, I was probably 24, 25, and I was successful at an early age and had an ego, was an arrogant little prick.
Yeah.
And so I shattered a chair over his desk.
Oh, my God.
And within 30 seconds, he's like, hey, you want to get lunch? I'm like, yeah. So we go leaving, and we're walking out the office, and Michelle Whitley, the secretary, is crying. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? She's like, you just apparently shattered something over your dad's desk, and then you two morons within 20 seconds are going to lunch together?
Oh, my God.
And we're like, it was just, we were having fun. But yeah, we've always been around each other, and we've calmed down as we've gotten older, obviously. But he hangs around a lot at the office. He goes on trips with us. He's a great dude. My mom and dad are great people. I'm blessed to have him around me. My dad, literally, though, is like a real-life cartoon.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's so proud of you, and I'm sure being around the business and working with you really keeps him young and keeps him going. People that retire and have nothing to do, I mean, they don't have much to live for. And him being able to see you grow and succeed and everything like that, I think that probably means a real lot to him.
And the guy's work ethic and energy is insane. He's still involved with some business networking. And he had about 2 months ago, he got up and he trains my 16 salespeople. So I'm always using him as an example. And he lives an hour south of our location. He lives down in the country of Kentucky. And he got up at 4 a.m. to drive up to a coffee meeting at like 6:30 a.m., to go to a business event in the morning, then came to the office, coached my team all day, did a webinar with me, had another event that night, and then after that met with me and was home by 11. It was like nothing. And it cracks me up because I'm like, some of my guys, I'm like, my dad is 77 and running circles around you.
Yeah, outworking the whole team.
But I'll tell you this. There is something to be said about the mental clarity of people that keep thinking. And I heard Donald Trump about 4 or 5 years ago give an interview about one of his friends who was a huge investment banker in New York, forced to retire because of the age limitations in that industry, moved down to Florida, and Donald went down and golfed with him a year later. And he's like, I'm not being mean. He said, but the guy has gotten so much dumber in the past year because he's not using it. Like the things he's focused on now, he's not problem solving. He's not thinking. I don't know what part of the brain they call that, but my dad, if you were to black out the screen and have a conversation with him, you would think he's a 45-year-old entrepreneur.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Okay, before we go any further, I need clarity on your whole business. You got so much going on, and every time I turn around, you're adding something new. So break it down for me. Give me the whole picture of your company.
So my vision is I want to create the ultimate restaurant marketing platform that's focused mainly around independence, but there are some aspects of the software side that work with. We have 300 location chain on the platform, so it works well. But my focus has always been on teaching people the opportunity that exists right now. And this is the same thing I'm talking about now I've been speaking on since 2008. I mean, when I started this company in 2008 as a local marketing company, my idea, I called it the mobile marketing director, was, hey, you couldn't afford me. If you were going to hire me to run your marketing for your company, it'd cost you $250,000 easily. You can't afford that. You're a one-location restaurant. You're a chiropractor. You're a gym. And so I came up with a solution where I said, hey, I'm going to have 20 businesses that I'm a consultant for, and I'm going to manage their marketing budget. And we had one location burger joint. I had 3 location wing joint. We had a place called Hofbrauhaus in Pittsburgh, Columbus, and Newport, Kentucky. Eventually worked with Cleveland as well. But also through that time, I knew a lot about digital marketing. And I look back, I squandered a lot of opportunity because what I knew 15 years ago about what we know today, like I was way ahead of the game on complete accident. I had no idea that I knew what I was talking about at that level. But throughout the time, I started to realize we needed to really niche down. And so 2015, we decided to focus exclusively on helping restaurants because I had 40 clients in Cincinnati area, all different industries. I think at one point we had 31 different industries. And it was tough to leave a car dealership and go to a chiropractor and go, oh, hey, this worked here to sell 100 cars. Now we got to get back adjustments, and then leave there and go to a buffalo wing joint. Oh, now we got to sell buffalo wings. So 2015, we decided to narrow our focus. It was me and Ashley, who's my director of ops still to this day. She's been with me 13 years, and decided to go 100% restaurants. And we've since scaled the company. What took us on a real big path was in 2017, I was traveling the country, and I was speaking at a couple small little conferences here and there, which, by the way, I saw your speech at Cater Source. You killed it. That was unbelievable. I watched on YouTube. Great job.
Thank you.
But I started speaking like that at events, and I would get invited to the restaurants afterwards. Hey, Matt, you got to come to my restaurant. Check it out. And I would go to the restaurants, and these guys like you would tell me the story, like the story behind Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, and then you in the restaurant is invigorating. It's what people need to know about. But nobody does.
Right.
And so I had the idea in 2017, what if I created a new media company? Because nobody's watching cable TV, and I knew it back then. Right. People are still thinking that they're still watching it today, but it's not. I mean, some of the best food programming on cable TV might get a couple hundred views in a neighborhood, whereas if you did the same thing on your Facebook page, you get a couple 100,000. And 2017, I had a vision for America's Best Restaurants. I said, hey, I want to create a media platform that helps tell the stories of the hardest working people in this country, the mom and pop restaurants. And I didn't know what the hell I was talking about, how I was going to do it. I'm like, I'm going to travel the country with my phone and film these stories. And at the same time, I've got the marketing side. So they'll both help each other. When I come across people that might need marketing help, hey, here's our help. And at the same time of that, because you say I got a lot of stuff going, I realized there was a lot of restaurants that couldn't afford to hire our company to market for them. So I created America's Best Restaurants University, which is online learning. And so that evolved to where today there's americasbestrestaurants.com and the media company with that will film at 1,000 restaurants this year. americasbestrestaurants.com. By the end of 2026, we'll have 50,000 independent restaurants listed on it for free. And we're building a thing called ABR Rewards there, where it helps connect the restaurants and consumers. The other side of our company is the marketing side, which is I'm in Vegas at our office in Las Vegas. Repeat Returns is a restaurant marketing software that we purchased last year, and we merged with our marketing company. And the vision there is to create, people have loyalty programs, they have reward programs, but not enough of them have customer acquisition programs.
Right.
And then not enough of them have retention programs, because this device is tricky. I mean, it's text messages, emails, Facebook, Instagram. It's hard to keep people's attention. So my vision with Repeat Returns and restaurant marketing that works was to create a platform that was full circle marketing. And then America's Best Restaurants University is our online learning platform to help restaurants understand a lot of the nuances of advertising. We have guides on there that we sell. We have trainings. We have free trainings. So the vision long-term is to create a one-stop shop that restaurant owners can come to get education, to learn what it takes to become an institution in their neighborhood, to get marketing help, because let's face it, I don't know how to make barbecue. You probably don't know how to push buttons on Facebook ads. And then on the other side is the media channel, is that this isn't going anywhere. I mean, I don't care where you're at. Airport, bathroom, restaurant, a gym, the pool, the beach, everybody's on their phone.
100%.
And so with America's Best Restaurants, I want to create a media channel. Like right now, we're publishing 4 brand new episodes a day on Facebook and YouTube for restaurants. And the whole focus is just helping them tell their story.
I lost power. Hold on.
Yeah, what happened? I just saw that.
My lights went down.
Oh, man,
we got these. That's real time.
Oh, is that
it's like automatic
the
lights.
Sensor?
Yeah.
I have those. The bathroom at my coffee shop I go to once a week. It goes off on me every time, and I'm like waving my hand.
So that's amazing. I really think that, especially in the mom and pop restaurant space, there's so much need for what you do. I watched one of your videos, and it rang so true to me, and it was about the Red Bull. So what's the number one mistake small restaurants make with their marketing? What aren't they doing, or what are they doing wrong?
Wow, there's a lot of mistakes there.
Yeah.
Let's think the number one. I think the biggest mistake is that restaurants are using today's marketing opportunities, and what I mean by that is email, text, and social media mainly, And they're using it how they would use a money mailer coupon 25 years ago. If you go back 25 years, you go back to 1999, Matt Plapp walking into Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue and catering, and I'm like, hey, Duce, we want to run some radio ads for you. I'm going to help you build an advertisement. The only focus of that is to sell your restaurant on my airwaves. What has happened is people have tried to replace that with digital media. And if somebody is a fan of your Facebook page for your restaurant, they're not on there to be sold food every time they turn around.
Right.
And so that's what the biggest mistake I've seen has happened. I kind of call it the money mailer effect, is that every single restaurant can reflect, which, by the way, that went out of business a few years ago. I don't know if it's back or not, but when it went out of business, this guy that I know, sidebar, started another direct mail company. I'm like, don't you see the trend here? It's going digital. But we've all had that conversation where you've sat down with a rep and built an advertisement. Well, people are trying to replicate that on social media and email. And if I'm a fan of your restaurant and you email me every single week a reason to come eat at your restaurant, I'm eventually going to opt out. But if you engage with me differently, engage with me why I'm on the platform. And so the Red Bull video you're talking about, it's up to like 7 million views, I think. That was at David Scott Peters' conference a year ago.
I need an intro to him, by the way.
Oh, I got you. It's awesome. You need to speak at his event. He does some great events with great owners. The guy is legit.
Yeah.
He's the best out there. But DSP, I was at his conference. I stood up on stage. And I basically said, if I go to Red Bull's Instagram account or Facebook, they're not selling Red Bull.
Right.
If I go to your restaurants, all you're selling is pizza. Everyday pizza. If your place is called, barbecue or pizza or burgers, I have a pretty good clue what the hell you do.
Right.
So you got to meet your customers on the platform for the reason they're there. And it's like, my wife is not on TikTok right now on the sofa at the house, because that's what she's doing right now, chilling, I bet. She's not on there to look at food. She's on there to sometimes look at food, how it's made, but she's on there to consume content. And the more content people consume of yours, the more you get put into the algorithm.
It either has to be entertaining or educational to get them coming back to watching. And that's I think you're right on there with people just posting pictures and say, come in and try our new special. It's not going to cut it. You need to engage the customer. And that's something I learned from your guys, you and Scott, is when you make a post on Facebook or something, have something that they can engage with. Guess how many candies in the bottle? What's your pet's name? Something that they can engage with. It doesn't have to be always about a slab of ribs or a slice of pizza or something like that.
And it's tough to understand that. And I reflect back, everything that I preach to people is from trial and error.
Right.
If I'm telling you something that I know is correct like this, it's because I did it incorrectly for a long time. And I reflect back in the 2016 to 17 time when I started scaling this company. I'm like, great, I've got Facebook, I've got YouTube, I've got a podcast. I'm going to get on here and talk about how badass Matt Plapp and my company is. And so for a year, every time I was on camera, it was how great we were, our results, this, that, and the other. Nobody cared. And so I finally had to take a look in the mirror and go, okay, what can I help? How can I give back? I can give back by teaching people how to do stuff. I had a text message this morning. A lady sent me a video text this morning, and it was triggered because she listened to yesterday's podcast. I do a daily podcast on Spotify and all those platforms, 5 to 15 minutes long, one topic. I've been doing it for coming up on 2 years this June. And every day it's a different topic. Well, 2 days ago, the topic was on how and why to create Facebook ads to acquire customers. And she texted me a little video and said, hey, I appreciate it. You're transparent, the honesty. I really needed to hear this. Thanks for your help. And that would have been Matt Plapp 7 years ago. I'd have been like, hey, click here to buy. Mm-hmm. And so restaurants have to realize the platforms that we have at our fingertips are gold. Twitter with X now, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, email, text marketing, messenger marketing, WhatsApp for some places. It is an absolute gold mine. It's almost completely free. But the only way it works is if you meet your customers on that platform while they're there. I get people all the time. I had a comment this morning. That Red Bull video gets comments every day. And somebody said, this Red Bull, comparing Red Bull to a restaurant is apples and oranges. Doesn't make any sense. I said, well, an apple and an orange are both what? A fruit. Mm-hmm. Fruits get used for the same thing. It doesn't make an orange juice or an apple juice differently. It's both a fruit juice. Well, Red Bull and restaurants are both on Facebook or both on Instagram. Your consumers aren't differentiating, oh, this is Red Bull. I expect this. My restaurant, I expect to be sold to. But the big thing that trumps all of this is the number one way to tell that this is correct is your social media content doesn't get engagements.
Right.
And doesn't get engagements because the algorithm, Facebook knows the only way Facebook makes money is if Matt Plapp is on this platform, if I'm on here scrolling, and if I'm on here scrolling nonstop and looking and stopping and clicking, great. Well, if I don't stop on stuff like your Facebook post for your restaurant, they go, oh, he didn't stop. Let's not show that again.
Right.
Oh, he didn't stop again. Let's not. Okay, we're going to eliminate 47-year-old white dudes that live in that zip code from seeing that restaurant's marketing because none of them are stopping.
Right.
So the ultimate proof is the fact that nobody opens your emails, nobody clicks them, nobody replies to them, nobody comments on your Facebook post, nobody shares it, nobody is truly excited. And it leads back to one big thing, which isn't the conversation here, but it's one big one. That's why nobody wants to work at your restaurant, because they don't know the magic that's happening because you're not telling the story.
Yeah, so much information right there for sure that people really don't understand. I mean, I get that question all the time. Like, Duce, I love your videos. And then in the next breath, they'll be like, but are you making money? Or like, how does that relate to your business? Because we never sell catering. We rarely talk about the restaurant or, we'll use the Duce as Well products, but it's not like we're pushing it. But it's the attention and the constant being in their feed, that eventually will pay off. And now we're starting to do some monetizing on the platforms themselves. And our business has grown over the last 3 years since we've really been focused on it. And is it all because of what we're doing online? No. We're doing a lot of things right in the business too, but I know it has some impact, and the amount of reach that you can get online way surpasses anything you else could do with a money mailer or anything in your local neighborhood I mean, some of the neighborhood stuff is is very important too, but it's just so scalable online.
It's my first book that I wrote that I never published was called Create Your Own Radio Station. It was the topic of my presentations I did from 2008 to 2014. And my whole reason behind the name was not to create a radio station, but if you look at why people tune into a radio station or why you buy advertising, it's because people tune in. So you're spending $200 to give this radio station $200 for a 60-second commercial, at least back then it was, because they have people listening to the station. Well, okay, let's narrow that down. Your restaurant is a one-location restaurant in Northern Kentucky. How many people are you actually reaching out that big signal? It's probably a couple thousand. Well, if you have a Facebook page that's done correctly, an email list, a text list, a birthday list, LinkedIn was a big thing I hyped up a lot back then, and people couldn't comprehend it. But if you have all these platforms, you have the ability to cultivate your own radio station. So when you need to sell something, you tap into that. The problem is people are trying to tap into it every day, and they're desperate to make it sell food every day. And I told this example the other day. I have a guy named Peter on my team that travels with me 90% of my trips. Like this trip to Vegas was last minute. I didn't want to drag him out of the office, so he's not here with me. But he travels with me 90% of my trips. His expense for his payroll, the stuff he does, his equipment, his benefits is over $100,000 for me. I have no expectation of anything this year happening with my company that's going to be ROI positive with Peter. Peter exists because I'm building something in 2 or 3 years.
Right.
A lot of things restaurants need to wrap their head around is not everything you have in your marketing world is going to lead to the success. It's like you said, it's not the stuff you're doing on social media that's made your brands grow. Mm-hmm. It's everything.
Right.
It's the culmination of 20 different efforts over a long period of time.
100%.
It's like weight loss. I equate marketing and sales to weight loss, that if you're 100 pounds overweight, you could do a lot of things. You could eat better. You could sleep better. You could manage your stress, your mobility, your flexibility. You could exercise. You could do cardio, weightlifting, CrossFit, whatever it is. But if you do 5 or 6 of those over a 3 to 4 year period, it is impossible that you will not get in shape.
Right.
And it's the same with your marketing. It's like the example in the marketing I love to give is a band director. Because people always ask, okay, Matt, How do I act like Red Bull on Facebook? What am I going to do? I'm like, okay, do you have a high school? I ask you, Duce, is there a high school near you?
Sure.
Everybody's got high school, right? Your high school probably has a band.
Yep.
That band probably has 100 kids. That band director, if you look at his influence with those kids, with moms, with dads, with step-parents, with grandmas, with neighbors, his influence is 2,500 people in your community. There is one person twice a year that you could use your platform for to help. They do fundraisers. Instead of doing a dime to donate, go to the band room, sit down with him with a bunch of tubas and say, okay, it's Duce. I'm here at XYZ High School. I'm with Steve. He's the band director of the high school. Steve, you got a fundraiser coming up. First, tell us about the band, how you did last year. Tell us about your kids. How was this impactful on a kid as an adult? Now you're using your platform to market something in the community. Now all of a sudden, those 2,500 people that band director has influence over, all those moms and dads are sharing that now.
Yes.
They're sharing that post on Facebook, and now you're being seen on Facebook for something different. So when you get seen for something different, people pay attention. Then when you do pop in that Wednesday night pizza special, they see it, and they're not like, oh, he's always selling to me. So there's so many opportunities to leverage the platforms to create content that entertains people.
That's so cool. Matt, I feel like we have so much in common, and we've really only met in person like 3 times or maybe 4 times or something. A big thing that's changed in my life over the last 7 or 8 years is my mindset. And I listen to a lot of podcasts. I, focus on it from a health perspective, but really, especially in a business perspective, like I used to have such a closed mindset. Like I could never do this much in sales and everything. And my mind is completely changed. What has mindset, how has that played a role for you and in your life and in your business? And just some of your thoughts about it.
I have an acronym I use, mind, body, and spirit. It's actually, I don't have any tattoos, but I have a goal in the next year of getting a tattoo by David Scott Peters' daughter, who just moved to Alaska, so I got a longer trip now. But I want to get a tattoo on my feet that on one foot says unbreakable and the other one says MBS, mind, body, and spirit. Because I truly believe that if I can, as a leader, become as unbreakable as possible mentally, physically, and spiritually, that'll take me to the next level. And all of it revolves around taking care of yourself and your mind. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a great example. You can see the great example right now. I don't know if you can see this or not.
Yeah.
I broke my nose last Monday.
Oh, man.
I've broken my nose 4 times now as an adult. Last Monday night, I'm in Miami, Florida. I'm down there with 3 of my leadership team for a 10X Growth Conference by Grant Cardone, a huge motivational event, great speakers. It was unbelievable. I'm in the pool, and I'm a dumbass. I'll be the first to tell you that. I'm in the pool. I'm swimming underwater, having fun. I don't know what happened. I went the wrong way. It got foggy. I hit the wall. Like literally. Jeez. I'm talking. I must have literally moved my hands at the exact moment and boom. And I knew it was broke because I've done it 3 times. I stand up. Blood's everywhere. Oh, my nose is bleeding. Here's the cool part about it. This is what I'm going to get to on this. I get back up to the room, stop the bleeding. My employees are like, what the hell? And I'm like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, the cool thing is I can now breathe out of my other nostril. For 28 years since I broke it last in college, I couldn't breathe out my nostril. I'm like, dude, I just fixed my nose. And they're looking like, what is wrong with you? So then I take a picture and I text it in my group chat to my wife and kids. We have a group chat called Gang Shit. I have a 19 to 21-year-old kid, and I have my wife. We've been married like 25 years this August, together 28, 29. So I send a picture of it in there with no context and I just said, put that. And I said, you won't believe what happened swimming. They didn't sympathize with me or send me this or call me. They texted back, you're an idiot. It's funny. They're making fun of me in the chat. But here's why. They know that shit doesn't affect me. Yeah. It didn't bother me. I broke my nose. I have blood everywhere. I literally, you can't see it, but I have a divot. I put it on Facebook this morning.
I saw it on Facebook. Yeah. I
saw it. To hype up the podcast. Match. And if you listen to the podcast, it's 5 minutes of me saying, hey, I've surrounded myself with employees, friends, and family. There's no woe is Matt Plapp. I won the birth lottery. I'm a white dude in America. Like, give me a break. I got it made. Yeah. And I think all of us in America have it made, and probably if you're anywhere in the world, have it made to some extent. But that is one thing with me is I don't let things like that affect me. I don't let them derail what I'm doing. And I think that is the biggest aspect of being a leader is that when that stuff affects me, because if I would have let that affect me, and it still hurts to like even move my nose, but if I would have affected me, it would have affected the event for my team that week.
Sure.
And that's not fair.
Yeah.
And if you let things that you can't control affect you, you you screw everything up. And so for me, mind, body, and spirit is okay. How do I surround myself with the right people? How do I surround myself with the right self-talk?
Yep.
How do I educate myself on a daily and weekly basis? How do I work out? I work out 2-3 times a day some days. Saturday, I had 4 workouts. And I'm not all of them killing myself, but one of them I'm at a kickboxing class. One I'm doing weights with my buddies at 7 a.m. One I'm doing CrossFit, and then one I'm going for a 1.5 mile walk with my wife. And if I take care of those elements on a consistent basis over a long period of time, I'm going to be in a great place. And then I also, if I showcase those, like that post on Facebook with the broken nose with the podcast link had nothing to do about me getting sympathy. I could care less. I wanted people to listen to the podcast. And when people listen to podcasts and they relate to it, I'm now nurturing them to be my next employee. I've already had 3 text messages today from friends of mine who listen to the podcast and love it. One of them will work for me in the next 2 years. He doesn't know it yet, but he will.
Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah, I like I said, I could tell we have a lot in common as far as that. And having a positive mindset has really changed my perspective on a lot of different things. And knowing that you are in control and you can always change the situation for the better is huge for me, for sure.
And it's the people around you too.
100%.
I mean, if I would have sent that message to my wife and kids and then they would have called me and pity party and this and that, like they literally, I should have texted, it literally, the first thing back was my son, you're an idiot. And so
that's so good.
It's just the way you cultivate things. And, you know, I think a lot of us have a tendency to be scared to take people out of our lives. We have family members around us. We have people around us that if they aren't contributing to the bigger cause, if they don't believe the opportunity that exists for you in this world, you're insane. There's a guy I follow online, Alex Hormozi, who owns a company called acquisition.com out here in Las Vegas now. But I met him 7-8 years ago when we were using his gym marketing company to help market our gyms. The guy was sleeping on his floor of his gym 7-8 years ago, broke. Fast forward 2 years ago, he exited his companies for like $80 million.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So anybody out there that tells me whatever we want to do is not available is wrong.
Right.
Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you do. There is an opportunity out there. It just takes you not giving up and not having the mindset that you can give and having the mindset you can give up. If you don't have that, if you're like, you know what, I'm going to keep going, you'll eventually get there.
Yeah, totally agree. That's the longer I'm alive and the longer we're in business, I think that there is so much opportunity and so much abundance, especially when we're living right now. I mean, it's clear to me every single day that if you want it, you have to go out there and take it, ask for it, work for it. It's there, you know, if you want it. Speaking of that, you mentioned the Cardone 10X conference. Can you give us a few takeaways? And I was definitely a little jealous of you being out there because it's something I want to go to. And my lights are going off again. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
So let us know a little bit about the 10X conference. That seemed amazing.
Yeah, so I love events like that. And I'm a big fan of Grant Cardone's from a standpoint of his mindset. I've watched his business go from $2 million when I first came across his content, like 2016 or 17, to he's over 200 million now. And he's done it through being visible, being accessible, giving. He teaches a lot, does a lot of free stuff. But his events also attract the right people. And so on a monthly basis, I'm in a different city for some event. And I always look at that if I can come out of an event with one item, then I'm in a great place. And I came out of that event with one. I actually came out of that event with about, 39 points. I was trying to make it 37 because my football number in college was 37. And on Monday, we had our team meeting. We have a company-wide Zoom call.
How many days was that conference?
Say what?
How many days was that conference?
3 days.
Okay.
And when I go to these conferences too, I go like uninterrupted, man. I'm not out on phone calls, meetings. You know what? I'm not available for 3 days for the most part. But I took notes on this, and on Monday in our all hands on, what I call the State of the Union every Monday with our team, I deliver a 30-minute speech basically. And this week I delivered the 39 points I wrote down from that event. And I said, hey guys, I'm going to give you these. Some of them are going to resonate with you, some of them aren't. But I'm not going to tell you who said most of them. Here's why. Because there's people at this event that you might not agree with. Tucker Carlson was there. You might be a Democrat. You might not be. So you might hear me say, he said this, like, guy's an idiot. Cardone's 12-year-old daughter gave a speech, and she gave me 2 of these 39 are hers. If I told you it came from a 12-year-old, you'd be like, yeah, whatever. So I went through and I mentioned them all, and I walked through and I said, here's why it resonated with me. And some of them I talked about the fact of who said it and why because of context. Like Tyler Perry was one of the people there. It was Tyler Perry, Mike Tyson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I didn't get to see because we had to leave early.
That's awesome.
Let's see who else was there. Peyton Manning, Ray Lewis, Tucker Carlson, Saducci, whatever his name was. He was the press secretary for Trump for like a little bit. But Tim Glover, is that his name? The coach, Michael Jordan strength coach from Chicago. So 2 of the things I took from the event, the biggest one.
Tim Grover.
Yeah, Grover. 2 of the things I took, there were 3 big quotes I took away. One of them, ironically, was from Grant Cardone's 12-year-old daughter. And she gave up, and it's wow. He puts his family in these presentations. Like his wife is not that great of a speaker, but she speaks at every one of them, and she gets better every time. And he's doing it because he's trying to build her up. And his 12-year-old daughter is in front of 5,000 people and 200,000 online, and doesn't hesitate. No ums, no likes, no uhs, no awkward moments. Spoke to the audience.
That's amazing.
But she said something in her speech that really resonated with me. She was telling a story about her dad and how people bang on him and he gets a lot of haters. She's like, but you know what? They're talking about him. And that's the key. That's what you have to, like marketing. You want to be on people's lips. If you're on people's lips, you're in their mind. And if you're in their mind, you win.
Yep.
The other one that Tyler Perry talked about was, I didn't know a whole lot about him as a movie. He's a billionaire, I guess, movie producer.
Huge.
I knew he has the couple big things out there I've seen, but I didn't really know his history. But he had 7 years where he delivered his one play, and he was homeless. He was homeless. He was broke. He was working at fast food restaurants. He'd save up money. He'd get 3 weeks. He'd do the play for 3 weeks. He'd come back to it a year later. Like how this guy for 7 years did that is beyond me because the story he told was unbelievable. But he's like, Grant asked him, he said, so what would you do to change those 7 years? Would you give those 7 years of failure back for anything? He's like, no. The 7 years of failure are what taught me to understand what success was and to appreciate what success was. And then the other thing that Jordan and Kobe's coach, which, by the way, if you guys haven't read his books or looked up his stuff, his story of how he became Michael Jordan's trainer is just comical, how it's just so cool. But he talked about obsession. He said that a lot of people are interested in his success. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan weren't interested. They were obsessed with success.
Right.
And so like I wrote that down on my desk. In my office now, there's a piece of paper that says, become obsessed with helping restaurants drive sales, because that's my main focus over the next 5 years. Is I personally want to create a platform where a restaurant owner can log into. I do $1.2 million in sales. I want to do $1.4 million. Put it in, and it tells you the formula. We're already working on it. That tells you the marketing output you have to take in order to get the eyeballs, the ears, everything to drive that $200,000 extra in sales. Because I understand that that's the biggest struggle. Businesses don't know how to sell product. And so I wrote on my desk, there's this giant sign, become obsessed. So I left that conference. If I would have went there, we probably spent $15,000 between all the stuff, I'm guessing. The tickets, we had part of a contract. But if I look at all that money that was spent there, that one word, obsessed, is all I needed to leave with.
Yeah. That's awesome. Those events, we were talking earlier, those events are so special because you're surrounded by people like-minded that want to grow, that are go-getters. And that's why they're at that event. And sometimes the most amount of value is other conversations you have outside of the actual speakers and the presentations that you're listening to. And that's definitely on my list to go out and do more events like that, because I think they are so valuable.
The energy is contagious. And if you want any proof that energy is contagious, go to a riot.
Yeah.
It's the opposite.
Right.
But there's a reason that riots happen. The wrong people in the wrong place, and they happen.
Right.
You go to an event like this, it's the complete opposite. You've got people that are there that are making hundreds of thousands, making millions, probably making $10,000 a year, but they have this right. Mm-hmm. And they're looking at something. They're looking at a mountain and going, I'm going to go up there. I got to figure out how to get there. And so I love being in that. Like, you can feel the energy, and you see the people, you see how they carry themselves. And you're like, man, that's what I want to be.
Yeah. So cool. All right. Now, you kind of touched on this already. If you had to sum up the future of restaurant marketing, what would you say it is?
This phone.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I got to bring this up because it kind of ties in with the phone. It's so funny that like 2 months ago, I'm on Instagram and I'm watching a reel of some guy making barbecue, but it was actually a Dickie's Barbecue Facebook or Instagram page. And I'm watching it and I'm like, this guy kind of sounds like Duce. And then I look and I love you got great biceps, by the way. I got a man crush on you. I'm like, this guy's got biceps just like Duce. And I'm like, hold on, that is Duce. So I thought it was funny that they jacked your video.
Totally jacked it. Just screenshotted, screen recorded it, and put it on their page.
What was funny was I was literally, that's how impatient I am. Like, I'm 2 seconds into it, and I'm like, oh, this guy sounds like Duce. So I'm like sending you a text like, hey, this guy sounds like you. And then 10 seconds later, I'm like, oh, he looks like, I'm like, oh, shit, never mind, that is you.
Yeah.
And then I was confused. But
I know something's popping off when I get like multiple messages from people. And that one was like, of course, they screenshot and then it got 1 million views or whatever. And multiple people, hey, did you get a new job? You working at Dickie's now?
No. But no, that's the history. I've been around marketing technically since the mid-90s. I guess as a kid, I was involved in my parents' companies. They had insurance companies. They had travel agencies. I grew up a lot of grassroots marketing. We would walk into a restaurant. This is no exaggeration. Every time we walked into one of my dad's clients, we knew he was not going to make it to the table with us. So we'd walk in the restaurant and we'd be sitting down and we'd look back and Dad's talking to a table and he'd come by and we'd say, who was that? Oh, it's so-and-so. And so he tells me a story that his line was whenever he walked in, he saw somebody he didn't know in the restaurant. He'd stop by and he'd go, is that the special? And they'd go, oh, no, this is the XYZ. Oh, okay. You look familiar. What's your name? Oh, I'm Mike Jones. Oh, I'm Dwayne Plapp, Plapp Insurance. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. Like, get talking. He's like, Matt, within a week or two, that person would call me.
Yeah.
Hey, I met you at Walt Hitching Post a couple weeks ago. I've got a son that turned 16. I wonder if you could look at his insurance for me. Like, it would always lead to something. Dad was a consummate marketer, networker. I only played baseball as a kid because he sponsored 9 teams. There was Plapp Insurance teams from kindergarten to high school. And so I was terrible at baseball. I hated it, but I had to play because it was Dad's team. So I grew up around marketing. And what gives me such an appreciation for the opportunity that exists today is exactly this. If you were to get your restaurant, and I'm not going to say the name of the shows, but if you were to get your restaurant on, let's say, 2 or 3 of the top cable TV shows right now, you would reach less people within a mile of your restaurant than if you got on Facebook and did a Facebook Live video for free.
Isn't that crazy?
And so
that's
the opportunity that exists today. I sold radio advertising in the late 90s. I sold media stuff. I did stuff with the Bengals, the Reds. I bought at one point, we were buying about $5 million a year in media for small businesses in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and also Pittsburgh, and then Columbus, Ohio. And I know a lot about media. And when I look at what's available today, I crack up. The opportunity that a mom and pop business has today levels the playing field of you and McDonald's. And that's a huge opportunity. That's what got me the story. I've already told you a story now how I got kind of the idea for America's Best Restaurants. The roadshow was I was in Newport Beach, California, speaking at this little event called In Fashion Mall. I meet a guy named Joseph Mahone, who's got a restaurant in Orange, California called Burger Parlor. He had 2 locations back then. Now they're called Jack's Chicken. He invites me to the restaurant. I go there. He's like, I got hand-spun milkshakes. I've got these gourmet burgers. I make my own ketchup in-house. I'm like, sold, brother. Nice. So I go there. And I'm talking the best milkshakes I've ever had in my life. He had a Captain Crunch milkshake that tasted like I was drinking the Captain Crunch milk, and I love Captain Crunch. So I go there, and he's telling me his story. And his story was he was a classically trained chef. He worked at a crazy high-end restaurant, and they were closed, I guess, one night a week. He convinced them to let him do high-end burger pop-up. And this is going back 20-something years, like 25 years ago. High-end burger pop-up at this restaurant on Monday nights. It went really well. So then he found another place and did it 2 nights and then 5 nights. And then he has his own restaurant. And then here we are 5 years later. He's got 2 restaurants, each doing like 4 or 5 million in sales, absolutely killing it. He had never told the story to anybody. And I'm like, I'm looking at your website, your Facebook. That is nowhere.
Right.
That is your differentiator between McDonald's. And so when you ask what the future of restaurants marketing is, it's learning to get comfortable with this device. And I was terrified of video 7-8 years ago. I found one of my first ever videos I did at Hofbrauhaus Pittsburgh's Beer Garden talking about VIP offers and how to acquire customer data and how to bribe people ethically to get them to walk in your restaurant. It's one of the worst videos, most cringy videos I think I can remember me doing, but I had to start somewhere.
Right.
And I knew the power of it back then. So the power of it is media, is that the radio station of 20 years ago is now in your phone, and you, Duce, and anybody else that has a small business owns the radio station.
Right. Yeah, that's so awesome. All right. Well, I want to do something fun at the end, but before I do, I want to make sure that if anybody has a small restaurant or they're interested in learning more about your business, can you give them how to get a hold of you or where to go?
Yeah, just give me a call. My cell phone number. I give this out everywhere. It's on my podcast every day, 859-743-2408. It is my cell phone number to prove that. Like, here's a text message from this morning from a lady that texted me this morning who I had never met. Let me find her here. Here it is. Yeah, she sends me a video text message from the podcast and thanking me for the podcast and actually wanting to talk to our company now. She's been following me for like 2 years apparently. But that's my cell phone number, 859-743-2408. You can Google it and find it. Give me a call. I don't answer a whole lot, but send me a text message.
Sure.
And I'll reply back. And
that's how I got a hold of you.
I'll give you honest advice. I don't care about selling something. I mean, our company's going to be a $100 million company in the next 5 to 7 years. We're doing fine. We got a lot of great stuff happening. I'm fortunate to have a team of 60 plus that are rock stars. I mean, like who I referred her to, Shaheen, was a client of ours for 7 years and a restaurant owner for 28. Wow. One of the most successful caterers in Cincinnati. And he's a client on he's one of our team now as he's retired and working in our business. So I can refer people to people like that, DSP, David Scott Peters. So, reach out if you're looking for advice, you're looking for a tool. We've got great products. I'm fortunate to have a team that knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to restaurant marketing at every turn. But I understand that sometimes people just need advice. And honestly, sometimes you need to do the work yourself to get to a certain point to appreciate the opportunity of having somebody else do it for you.
Right. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. Like you have to at least get to a little stepping stone before you have to you understand. Like I didn't even fully understand exactly what ABR does until we dug into it more. And then you kind of start understanding like, oh, that's why we do an engaging post. And then we follow it up with a video because then they're engaged with everything going on your feed, and it just makes a lot of sense, but it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. I'll give a shout out quick to Scott on your team. He is phenomenal and so knowledgeable about everything you guys do, and just he's dialed in, man. He's really, really strong. So
he's now the head of our client success team. He was our first ever account manager years ago. It's kind of funny when I set this company up. I built our operations team really heavy. We had our boat dealership that we started from scratch. We started it and built hardcore sales. And we sold whatever we could sell back in those days. And then we fixed the problems afterwards with money. Well, when we built this company, I built it with technology and with people that could do the work. And then I eventually added sales. Well, in radio, the account manager for radio advertising sales is the person that sold it. So Matt Plapp had 50 clients. I was their their attaché. I was their connection to the radio station, and I was also their sales rep. Well, when I built our company, it never occurred to me that it wasn't scalable to have the person that sells the marketing services to people or the software also handle the account. There's not enough time in the day. And so I met Scott. He's up in Toronto, Canada. About 80% of our employees are in person in Las Vegas or Northern Kentucky, and then 20% are throughout the country, and then Scott's actually in Canada. But I met Scott because he had bought some of our trainings. I had trainings on how to do restaurant marketing, and he had bought it, and he was working with some restaurants, and he had a job up in Canada in a video marketing company. And we got to talking, and I loved his honesty and his demeanor and his way he could handle conversations. And he came on board as our first account manager, and now he's the head of the department, and that'll probably be 30 people in the next 24 months.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, we love Scott and had a meeting with him this morning, actually, so very good. All right, so we're going to do a lightning round. So I'm going to do a name or a phrase or something, and you just give your first response to that quick, and we'll knock these out, and hopefully it'll be fun. Number 1 is Gary V.
Love him.
Mindset.
Must have.
Starbucks.
Great book on how he founded the company.
Barbecue.
Duce.
Personal brand.
It's right here. I wear it every day. Must have.
Taylor Swift.
Kelsey, her football player boyfriend.
Future of restaurants.
The same as it was 50 years ago. Smiles and conversations.
Michael Jordan.
The GOAT.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
AI.
Allen Iverson. That's honestly what comes to my mind every time I hear AI. I always think of Allen Iverson.
That's so funny. Oh, my God. Oh, that's a good way to end. Matt, we got to talk more, my friend. Thank you so much for doing this. And I can't thank you enough for everything you guys have done for us. And just, I want to connect with you more because every time I talk to you, I get, more excited about business and it drives me more. And once I want to grow more because of people like you that are going out there and crushing it so much.
No, that's right back at you. I get stuck too many times dealing with the problem children, it seems like, and you don't get to talk to the right people. And that's one thing I've been trying to insulate myself. Like I told my team, you know what? Handle the problems. I want to talk to the badass people. I want to talk to the people that know the opportunity that exists, and let's go to the next level. And I can't wait to come have some barbecue at the NRA show. That's one of my stops.
Yeah,
we're going to the
awesome.
NRA show. I'm like, we're going to Chicago, and we're going to Sweet Baby Ray's as well.
For sure. Awesome. Well, that's a plan. All right, Matt, thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, brother. See ya.
Bye.